of the document for consultation purposes. So, Chair, it's recommended that the Council approves the issuing of the draft Fermanagh and Omagh anti-poverty strategy, incorporating any feedback that members may have, and for public consultation for a period of 12 weeks, and approves the establishment of the Fermanagh and Omagh anti-poverty network to commence working on developing an action plan for the district.
Best thanks, John, for that report there. Councillor McElduff.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'd like to propose adoption of the recommendation, and it's two parts there. In paragraph 1.3, are there figures for the relative poverty rate for children in this district? Are they incorporated in there? Did I read that wrong? We've got the regional figure, the regional percentage for both, but do we have the local percentage for children in relative poverty? Would be one question. And then secondly, the key issues, I wouldn't underestimate 2.21, and we're not underestimating it, but it's very important to make efforts to mitigate the effects of poverty in the here and now, in relation to specific families. You know, like the programs that have been designed in recent years have been very good, based on engagement with the various sectors that fed into the thinking, the design. You know, for example, you know, like £200 were available, that type of thing, administered by St Vincent de Paul, and bringing the independent advice centre into play, you know, vouchers variously. So those are very well designed. My question would be, where did the money come from for those initiatives, and where is it likely to come from in the future? Is it DFC? Is it reserves? Or where is it? Money to mitigate the effects of poverty in the here and now, as well as being, you know, aspirational and working towards the middle and long term. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah. Chair, yeah, the rate for children, no, you're reading it absolutely correctly. It's not included in there. I can get the rate, or at least I think I can get the rate, and I'll provide it to all members in relation to for our district. It's just in relation when you mention the relative poverty measures. Members may remember that last year I continuously quoted, and we quoted in the council, a rate of 27% of people living in the district in relative poverty, and that was based on the 21-22 figures from NISRA. You will notice that that report for the 22-23 indicates that it's 20%. So it would look as if Fermanagh and Omagh district have actually improved with regard to poverty measures relative to the rest of the region. And we have actually gone back to NISRA to question those figures about why such a large decrease has taken place overall across our population. But I'll certainly come back to members with regard to the relative poverty figure for children. In relation to continuing to mitigate the effects of poverty, yes, it's an important aspect for the immediate response to poverty in our district. And I don't think, and especially I think for the whole period of our corporate plan for the next 4 years, I think we will be facing poverty in our district because of the cost of living crisis and everything associated with it. So those monies are important. Largely, 99.9% of that mitigation and the fantastic programs that we created, and Councillor McElduff mentioned some of them there, and the intervention that we made in schools and with communities and all of those sorts of initiatives was funded through DFC. And we will certainly be following up with DFC for future monies, but we all know where the finances in the executive are. But it is certainly something that I think will be required within our district.
Thank you. Councillor McElduff, I'll let you in.
Yeah, thanks very much. And just as an Omagh councillor, I want to thank groups like St Vincent de Paul, like Omagh Independent Advice Services, like the Reach Food Bank, like St Vincent de Paul, Omagh Independent Advice, Reach, and others. Action for Children, for example. Like, we can turn to Action for Children as well at crucial times when families are in despair. And the Reach Food Bank, I have good experience of it helping families as well. Just want to put that on the record. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong.
Chair, thank you. Thank you, John, for bringing the report and the draft strategy. I'd like to second the recommendations, and I certainly think it's really timely. And it's good to see this because I note that obviously the Northern Ireland-wide strategy on anti-poverty is far from complete. But with once this district has a strategy in place, could I propose that obviously it goes to the Northern Ireland Executive as an example of best practice that it has been achieved in this district? Because I think, the council's community work and community outreach has to be commended. And I think, like Councillor McElduff, commend the community voluntary and statutory stakeholders or partners in this process. So happy to second it. But one question is, like Councillor McElduff, once we have this in place, is this going to act as a catalyst for funding drawdown? Will this influence, the direction we're going in and where the funding is coming from?
Yeah, funding will always be an issue. But I believe that because of the stress and the pressures on funding, I don't think we will get any funding in the future without a clear strategy as to the way that we are going. So this is hope that this is step one of the process. And once we have the strategy in place, we'll work up the action plan. And from the action plan, then we will be able to try and devise where we are actually going to get funding in order to fund a lot of these things. There is some great work going on within organisations, including in our own council, direct funds from our council, but also within other statutory bodies that are addressing funding. And there is a need to maybe look at what we're doing, how we're doing it collectively together, and make better use of those funds. But there's certainly a need for additional funding in order to meet the need within our district. And you will see there from the relative poverty measures that we are below the Northern Ireland average. So therefore, we are worse off in terms of poverty than the rest of Northern Ireland. And I think in that case, then we have a strong case for funding.
Thank you, John. I do think there is an urgency in getting it to final stage. So thank you very much for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Green.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the poverty levels and that, I'm wondering how NISRA is actually calculating that, because I know in the Rural Affairs Subcommittee we have been doing a bit of work, and areas of deprivation, the way it's calculated by Stormont, there's actually no criteria or no way of ever knowing whether they're getting better or getting worse, and whether other areas has fell into the deprivation, maybe fell below some of the areas that has already been designated. That has come back to us, which seems a bit extraordinary that is the case. And then at our last Rural Affairs Subcommittee there, there was a map shown of rural areas were doing quite well, but rural areas within an hour of Derry City or Belfast, but the areas outside that area, our radius, the rural areas, which basically took in all of the Fermanagh Council, were falling way below that. I think Kim was there that day. I think I remember that right in that, and I'm just wondering how that they're coming up with these figures, because in one sense they can't show how whether the areas that they've designated in deprivation is actually coming up or going down further, and then another thing they're able to kind of show poverty going up and down. So I'm wondering how that maybe there's no answer. Maybe you have no answer to it either, John.
You, Councillor.
Just, I suppose, Chair, in relation to this particular one, the 27 down to the 20, we have formally gone back to NISRA to ask them what is the basis on which the percentages have changed so significantly. This this is slightly different than deprivation. You know, there's the 7 domains of deprivation. This is solely an income measure relative to the rest of Northern Ireland. And this would indicate that when our measure has fallen so drastically in 1 year, this would seem to indicate that our region was actually doing better in that last year than the rest of the region. Now, I don't think that is the case. So that's why we have gone to question Nisra in relation to the figures that are there.
See what comes back maybe from that. Kim?
Yeah, I can comment just on the DAERA report, which we reviewed at the Rural Affairs Subcommittee, and that included stats for poverty, but it was based on the 21 to 22 financial year. And it did indicate that in both respects of absolute and relative poverty, that the rural areas, which were greater than an hour's travel from either Belfast or Derry, Londonderry, were higher than those both urban areas and rural areas, less than an hour's travel distance. So there is a differential even within rural.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kelly?
Councillor McElduff just mentioned St. Vincent de Paul. I am a member of a local one, so I just want to declare an interest.
No problem. Thank you. Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair, and thanks to Director Boyle for his report on this very important subject. I support the recommendations as are listed, and also Councillor Armstrong made a proposal that this be put up as like a role model for the rest of Northern Ireland. I'm happy to second that proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Okay, members, that was proposed and seconded, and I sense we're all agreed, so thank you for that. Item 4.2 is to consider a report on UNESCO Global Geopark. John will take us to the recommendations on that, please.
Yeah, Chair, yeah, it's to seek approval for an officer to attend a number of meetings of the Geopark. One is the European Geoparks Network, and the other is the UK UNESCO Geoparks Committee meeting. We are, in order to keep our accreditation of geoparks, we are required to attend these meetings on an annual basis, and so therefore just to get approval for that. The third element of the report is to get approval for a member of staff to undertake an evaluation mission in summer of 2024. Again, that is a requirement for other geoparks go and undertake evaluations. We've had them in our own district with our own geopark, where members from other geoparks come and undertake the validation. So therefore, Chair, it's recommended that approval of attendance of a member of staff at the European Global Geoparks Conference on the 2nd to the 4th of October, the UK Geoparks Committee meeting on the 5th and the 6th of June, and also for member staff to undertake the evaluation mission in Quebec in Canada.
Thank you. Do you have a proposer and seconder, please, members? What's before us? Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly, and seconded by Councillor McColgan. Thank you. All agreed. And that brings us to 4.3, is to consider a report of the Director of Community and Wellbeing, paper C.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, two issues on the report. One is to approve a request to host the Association of British and Irish Show Caves Conference in January of 25. We are a member of the British and Irish Show Caves, the ABIS, and it brings together people from show caves all across Britain and Ireland, and to share best practice and so on. So I think it's a good opportunity to showcase our district and what we have got in our district. The second element of the report is in relation to generalist advice services. At the March Policy and Resource Committee, it was reported that we had one submission received by the tender deadline for the delivery of generalist advice services, and following assessment, it was proposed to award that to Fermanagh Onoma Advice Consortium. We are not in receipt of a letter of offer for the 24-25 period from the Department for Communities, and therefore what we are proposing is that we would extend the existing contract on a month-by-month basis for the delivery of generalist advice services to Fermanagh Onoma.
Okay, thanks for them two updates. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Thanks again to Director Boyle for the report. Two very important subjects, I suppose, especially with the second part. I'm happy to propose the recommendations as listed, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson and Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair. Yes. Excuse me. Yes, happy to second the recommendations. Just one question about the generous advice services. Should the funding, it's part funded by the Department for Communities, should the funding not be the same as previously? What steps are there in place, or what mitigations are there for both advice centres if we are to proceed following a letter of offer? If there is an estimated shortfall in the funding from the department, will the council make up that shortfall in what they need?
We have not included anything in our estimates should there become a shortfall. Now, and I think members raised this, I think at the estimates time, we provide a large percentage of the funding for generous advice services for the Fermanagh Advice Consortium. But there would be a deficit and we would have to relook at our budgets and so on. But we would be hopeful that the Department for Communities, but I think it would be wrong of us to issue a letter of offer based on having no letter of offer from the Department for Communities at this time.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
Thank you. All agreed, members? Thank you. That brings us on to item 5 on our agenda. 5.1 is to consider update report on various economic development initiatives, and council powers have been conferred for this item. That's with Kim. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this report provides an update on the Chair's Business Conference, progress of LED activity up to the 31st of March of this year, the suite of programmes to be delivered by local economic development during the current financial year, an update on the workhouse, an update on the Awaken Hub She Ventures Summit, and council powers have been delegated specifically for that item, and then an update on nibusinessinfo.co.uk council engagement and promotion. So members will be aware that the Chair's Business Conference will take place on Thursday, the 23rd of May at the Lough Erne Golf Resort. Members will have received a save the date into their calendars, and registration to attend is now open for those who wish to attend. The focus is on the future of the Fermanagh local economy, boosting growth and productivity and achieving regional balance, and it is aligned to the Minister's regional economic priorities as announced by Conor Murphy earlier this year. So the conference flyer is attached with the details of speakers. Part 2.2 of the report covers the LED initiatives for the latter 6 months of the 23-24 year. And members will note that targets have been met in relation to the majority of programmes. I suppose the exception was the Go Succeed programme. We've provided an overview of delivery in relation to that, but the issue on this occasion was the transition from the previous business startup programme to the new Go Succeed programme. And there was a period, I suppose a transition period, a gap in delivery, and also some, I suppose, a soft opening stage where we were trying to trial and iron out any problems with the website and other activity. What we can say is that take-up has now been strong, and we would expect that in the next financial year we will continue to meet targets as we have done in previous years. 2.3 then sets out our proposed suite of business support programmes for the current financial year, and members will see that a range of programmes are set out there. This includes allocation of the budget of £260,000, which we receive from the Department for the Economy for Local Economic Development. And that's the breakdown of how we propose to allocate that funding. In terms of the workhouse, Enniskillen, members will be aware that it's been in operation now for just over a year as a business incubation and heritage centre. It's committed to creating a vibrant community of entrepreneurs and offers a range of facilities, including office space, hot desks and meeting rooms, and also works to promote a programme of networking activities to bring a community of local founders and local businesses together. So as of April this year, we have secured 2 tenants for the workhouse on a permanent basis. And alongside that, hot desk space is being used on an ad hoc basis and also by a range of regular users. The steering group has been established and has met on a number of occasions and is overseeing the development and delivery of targeted interventions. And in terms of recognition for the project, it has been awarded the Royal Town Planning Institute Award for Excellence in Planning for Heritage and Culture in 23. It was shortlisted as Conservation Project of the Year for the Irish Construction Awards, and it's now a finalist in the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors Awards in both the Heritage and Refurbishment and Revitalisation categories. The Awaken Hub She Ventures Summit. So we've received a request from Awaken Hub for the council to be represented at and to sponsor their inaugural summit, which is called She Ventures, the Island Edition, and it will see the Awaken Hub take over Lusty Beg Island for 2 days in May. This Awaken Hub is a community of women entrepreneurs from across the island of Ireland. It's really founded to level up opportunity for women founders and remove barriers to investment, to scale and to success. And they aim to do this through a programme of events, advice and access to women-led founders and investors. It's led by Mary McKenna, who is a Tyrone native and a tech entrepreneur and investor. So this is Ireland's first all-island summit for women founders, and it aims to bring together over 250 women leaders, founders and investors. And the event, as well as being a business-focused event, will promote the Fermanagh and Omagh district from a tourism and a business tourism perspective, both nationally and internationally. So through the Go Succeed programme, an allocation of up to £5,000 can be provided in sponsorship from the programme's community outreach budget, and it aims to target underrepresented groups, including females, which is a gap which we have recognised in terms of our own economic profile, and we do continue to work to promote female entrepreneurship. So there are complimentary tickets available for 2 council elected members, including a 2-day pass and a gala dinner on the first night, with a speaking opportunity included for one of our members, and a place for a local female entrepreneur as well. And then finally, there's an update on the Northern Ireland Business Info Council engagement and promotion attached as appendices to the report. So it's recommended that the council notes the update on the Chair's Business Conference taking place on Thursday, the 23rd of May, and that nominations are provided for those members who wish to attend, that we note the update on the 23-24 LED initiatives, approve the proposed suite of business support programmes for 2024 to 25. We note the update on the Enniskillen Workhouse and approve sponsorship of £5,000 from the Go Succeed service for the She Ventures Island Edition Summit, and nominate 1 elected member together with the Vice Chair to attend the conference on the 20th and 21st of May. And that we note the update on nibusinessinfo.co.uk, council engagement and promotion. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. There's a lot in there, members, so thank you for that. Councillor Kelly.
That's a very comprehensive report, Kim, so fair play to you. Happy to propose and also would like to nominate Councillor Roisin Devine Gallagher to attend.
Okay, thank you for that. And members will bear in mind the nominations for the Chair's Business Conference if they're for it, maybe. When would they need to be in, Kim? You'd like them tonight, says you, but if there's anybody can attend that, do let us know tonight, maybe. Councillor.
Registration is open, so we would be asking, or even to nominate or to notify Democratic Services, and we can register you within the next couple of days.
Okay. Councillor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. I'll second the recommendations on that, and I'd like to propose that Councillor Armstrong takes up one of the other positions to go to that as well. Thank you.
Okay. There's only one additional place along with the Vice Chair, is there? Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly, are you going as Vice Chair? Oh, sorry.
I'm only able to go to the morning of the event on the Monday. Would it be possible for Diana to be that head the rest of that event? Maybe it's possible to do it that way.
Can we have a look at that? Okay,
Thank
you. Sorry, members, was anybody else rather late? Maybe I missed there, sorry. That's been proposed and seconded. And if you can forward any nominations for the business breakfast to Democratic Services, please. Thank you. 5.2 members is to consider draft response to the consultation on proposed bill to amend legacy EU common market organisation schemes. Kim, paper E.
Thank you, Chair. So this report provides members with an opportunity to consider a draft response to DAERA's consultation on a proposed bill to amend legacy EU common market organisation schemes. And the call for a response closes on the 27th of May. So council powers have been delegated for this item. DAERA proposes to bring forward new legislation that would provide scope to amend the legislation that governs two legacy EU schemes. One is fruit and vegetable aid, and the second is agri-food information and promotion. The proposal is for a technical amendment to assimilated law to give the department the ability to amend future policy. So it's not really amending the legislation at this stage. It's given the opportunity to be able to do that. It's understood the proposal is to make legacy fruit and vegetable aid funding discretionary and provide the department with the powers to amend that assimilated law so that schemes can be amended thereafter to reflect future policy developments. So the consultation document is attached at Appendix 1 and a draft response at Appendix 2. The key points we have raised in the response are that the Council supports the proposed amendment on the basis that it's a technical amendment and that any future policy proposals which may emerge would be subject to full consultation and associated screening in relation to equality considerations and rural needs. We note that while the fruit and vegetable aid, that's very hard to say, sector is not dominant in the Fermanagh district, with only 200 farms out of 5,000, the Council still would not support any proposal which would impact on the economic viability of those existing businesses. The sector is currently badly affected by recent adverse weather conditions, and we note that any scheme which helps to support farmers during periods of fluctuation in yields and income should be retained. We're also supportive of schemes which enable farmers and growers to collaborate through the formation of producer organisations, which mitigate against the disadvantages encountered by smaller farmers operating within the supply chain. And we also recognise and support the continuing requirement for promotion and marketing in terms of the agri-food sector and ongoing availability of support. So it's recommended that the draft response to the proposed bill as set out in Appendix 1 is approved for submission to DAERA by the closing date of 27th of May.
Okay, thank you, members. We've seen the response. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Rainey, thank you. And a seconder. Councillor McArdle, thank you, members. All agreed. Okay, thank you, Kim. And 5.3 is to consider a report of the Director of Regeneration and Planning.
Chair, so it's seeking approval to submit an application to Peace Plus under Investment Area 4.2, and council powers have been delegated for this item to note acceptance of letters of variance and to note an update from ICBAN. So the Peace Plus application, in June 2023, members approved the development of a number of applications, and they were informed that an application was being developed with Cavan and Monaghan councils for Investment Area 4.2, which is Rural Regeneration and Social Inclusion. And the focus of the application was the redevelopment of the former PSNI site in Newton Butler, which is a council-owned asset, alongside a suite of programmes to address social inclusion, economic regeneration and health and well-being. Total value of the application across the three areas is expected to be in the region of €6 million, with Fermanagh Council acting as the lead partner and seeking grant support of 100% of costs. We've been working on the application, and the call for applications is due to close now on the 23rd of May. So we're asking for approval for the submission of that application. A number of letters of variance are outlined at section 2.2 of the report, and also at Appendix 1, an update from ICBAN on their work over the past year. So recommended that the Council approves the submission of an application to Investment Area 4.2 of the Peace Plus programme by the closing date of 23rd of May, notes the acceptance of letters of variance and notes the update in relation to ICBAN projects and initiatives.
Thank you, Kim. Councillor Warrington.
Yeah, I'd like to propose the recommendation. Obviously, the plans for the old PSNI site in Newton Butler is in earnest, and certainly it would be good to see that progressing. So I'll propose the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. A seconder, please. Councillor Armstrong. Thank you. All agreed. Brings us on to item 6, members. 6.1 is to note the report environmental health delegated decision report for the Q4. John?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Chair, a standard report from environmental health on the delegated decision record for the last quarter of the last financial year for noting, Chair.
Thank you. Can we have a proposer, please? Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly and Councillor Armstrong to second. All agreed. Thank you. Item 7.1 is to note report on business case, paper H. Anne, have you a brief update on that report?
Yeah.
Okay. In March 2024, the Council approved its revised options and appraisal policy, and the policy details the internal assessment process associated with business cases and appraisal. The purpose of this report is to note one business case and one addendum. In the body of the report, you'll note that the Belcoo Cottage loan was to be considered this evening, but we're still waiting the receipt of additional financial information, and we haven't got that information just yet. So we're going to bring the report on that particular business case to the June meeting. So we have 3 other business cases that are being sent for noting. The first one is Oma Leisure Centre, which is the upgrades to the running track. And the value of that business, of the work to be completed, is £44,802. The next one, then, there are 2 addendums, addendum to the OLC, Oma Leisure Centre minor works. So in terms of that particular project, there was a business case approved for a total cost of £98,794.30. A tender process was completed for the project, and the most economically advantageous tender price was £114,641.22. That was an increase in cost of 13%, so an addendum was required. It's an additional cost of £15,846.92, and that business case, the addendum, has been approved by the Capital Programme Management Board. And then the final one is for works at Gort Rush. And as you're aware, works are underway at Gort Rush Depot to improve the layout and infrastructure, and the works are well advanced and almost complete. But during the course of the work, I suppose it's become more apparent that there are potential health and safety issues in terms of the entrance to the depot. And the addendum proposes that the final phase of work is completed, where we do work at the entrance and introduce a barrier system and resurfacing works, and that will improve the health and safety, because it'll prevent just random people really entering a very busy site. So the cost of the work, proposed works, is £48,580, and that's been the addendum has been approved by the Capital Programme Management Board. So the recommendation is that the Council notes the business case and the addendums to business cases, as detailed in section 2 of the report.
Thank you, Anne, for that. Councillor Withers.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll start by proposing the report there. Particularly around the Oma Leisure Centre running track. I know that's something that's been raised repeatedly over this past year or two, with the flooding and that's been ongoing. So that'll be welcomed by the local sports clubs like Oma Triathlon Club and Oma Harriers that are using it regularly, and then obviously individual users as well. Just a question on that one. I'm just wondering if there's a timeline on when that work will be due to carried out, or what we're looking at to get it completed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay. So basically, we're hoping to get the tender issued at the end, the week beginning the 27th of May, and all being well, we'll have a contractor appointed in the middle of June, and it'll take about 12 weeks to complete the work.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Councillor Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to ask that on 2.3 in the report there, that when it comes this next month or potentially after, but hopefully next month, that all the associated like paperwork around the business case is submitted to us, just so we can see all the details and any reasoning behind any decisions to help us make any considerations. Thank you.
Well, you'll have noted that this month the business cases have been submitted up on decision time for they're there for the councillors to consider, and that'll be the case next month when we have the business case for the costs completed. We will be the business case will be uploaded onto decision time for your consideration.
Thank you, Anne, for that. Councillor McElduff.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd second Councillor Withers' proposal if it hasn't yet been seconded. And again, my strong interest was in the timeline as Councillor Withers has requested and Anne has answered. Just seek assurance that, for example, the organisers of the park run and the groups listed by Councillor Withers would be communicated with about the work up ahead, because it'll certainly impact on the starting point of the park run over many Saturdays. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And like councillors behind me here, I want to support particularly the OLC running track. I know we have had meetings over a period of time with regard to that. So this is really welcome news, and happy to support the recommendations as listed, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You have enough, Councillor Gannon?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, thank you. That's proposed and seconded, members. All agreed. Thank you. And 7.2 is to note update report on the co-joint public inquiry. I can't just pronounce that word. Kim, will you give us?
Thanks, Chair. So this is a report on the procedural matters around the public inquiry. So members will be aware that the inquiry commenced recently in terms of the pre-inquiry meeting. So the council has noted its significant concerns in relation to the Curnold project and has responded to a number of consultations in relation to this. And in line with the decision taken by council in November 23, the council has procured RSK leads to support the council's position at the conjoined public inquiry. The pre-inquiry meeting then on the 9th of February 24, the Planning Appeals Commission published the timetable for the inquiry, including the opening on which was anticipated to be on 10th of September. A pre-inquiry meeting took place on the 20th of March to discuss the arrangements and deal with procedural matters. DFI confirmed at the pre-inquiry meeting that it would not be requesting further environmental information from the applicant, and DFI representatives also confirmed that in their opinion there were no transboundary issues, and as such transboundary consultation had not taken place in respect of the proposals. And prior to and at the pre-inquiry meeting, council officers raised a number of concerns in relation to seating arrangements, availability and access to inquiry documents, and the potential for further environmental information to be submitted at the statement of case stage. The council made it clear that it would make submissions on the fairness of any submission of any further environmental information in due course if necessary. Following the pre-inquiry meeting, the PAC published a revised timetable on the 19th of March and a number of action points, and council officers subsequently raised concerns that a number of requests for information which were made at the meeting were omitted from the list of actions published by the PAC. In terms of procedural issues then and the current status, so one of the actions arising from the pre-inquiry meeting was for DAERA to provide the PAC with a copy of all extensions of time agreed with the applicant for the abstraction and impoundment licence applications and discharge consent applications. And despite the submissions made at the pre-inquiry meeting by DAERA, its officials have subsequently confirmed to the PAC that the appropriate extensions of time were not granted or issued in relation to those two licence applications. As a result, DAERA accepted that those two applications had been deemed refused, and consequently they didn't have the necessary lawful authority to call a public inquiry in relation to the water abstraction and impoundment licence applications. PAC confirmed on the 25th of April that the public inquiries in respect of those licence applications could no longer form part of the conjoined public inquiry, which was expected to open on the 10th of September. In light of this, the PAC asked each of the referring authorities how they wished to proceed, and the PAC noted that all requests had been had been coordinated by the referring authorities so that all of the related applications would be considered together as part of a conjoined inquiry. On the 3rd of May, despite DFI wishing to progress with the current inquiry timetable, the Commission decided to suspend the arrangements for the current conjoined inquiry timetable. In terms of next steps then, the PAC has not published a revised timetable, and it's unclear at this stage how long the suspension will be for or what the new arrangements will be. In the meantime, officers will continue to progress the current work programme and will also take steps to ensure that any revised timetable is fair. Dalradian submitted 2 new water abstraction and impoundment licence applications on the 24th of April. These were deemed complete by DAERA on the 29th of April and have now been advertised on the department's website and in the local press, and there is a 28-day period for the public to make representations. DAERA then purported to direct the PAC on the 3rd of May to hold a public local inquiry in respect of those 2 new applications. But the PAC has reminded DAERA of the need to fulfil all statutory requirements, which includes allowing for the making of representations. Officers do intend to make representations on those resubmitted applications on behalf of the Council in due course, and those representations will reflect the corporate position of the Council. That recommendation then is that the Council notes the update on the conjoined public inquiry for the project.
Thank you, Kim, for your update. Councillor Kelly.
Look, I'm happy to propose the note in the report. Obviously, very unhappy with the content. It's obviously beyond our control as well. It's disappointing that all the wheels were in motion for the public inquiry and the pre-inquiry had even happened. I'd just like to reiterate Sinn Féin's disappointment and disgust that this has happened, and to further reiterate our party's opposition and this council's opposition to gold mining. I know that in full council I proposed to write to the relevant authorities, so I just think we need to keep the pressure on to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Thank you.
Thank you for that proposal. And Councillor Willers.
Yep, thank you, Chair, and I'll just second that. And also, I attended the pre-inquiry in February, and I was disappointed by some of the DFA in the way that they'd handled themselves during the actual pre-inquiry. So hoping there'll be a step change and that will move forward to the actual inquiry. And obviously that hasn't been helped either by this latest issue around the licenses and DAERA's unpreparedness there as well. I welcome the fact that we'll be resubmitting, making representation on the corporate position as well on the future license applications. And just on that as well, obviously we're keen to ensure that there is strong, robust representation against the gold mine when the public inquiry now eventually takes place. And I just want to seek if we have an update or when we will get maybe a further update just on the representation that's going to be made and who's making the representation for us. Thank you, Chair.
Kim, or just even in brief as to when it'll come before us? Or?
Well, just to note that officers are working with the consultants on the preparation of the statements of case and the rebuttals, and that information will be prepared and ready well in advance of the next stages. At this stage, we don't know when that is going to be, and that will depend on the revised timetable. So we will update members on that information when we have that from the PAC.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. Regarding the paragraph on rural proofing in the report says that it would have a significant adverse impact on rural areas. Can you clarify what impact assessment on rural needs by the council was carried out on this project and how that conclusion was came up with? The council are not determining authority on the planning application. Therefore, it's the role of the public inquiry to assess rural proofing and the DFI minister to make the final decision ultimately on the impact on rural communities.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Warrington.
The rural proofing implications really would be related to the planning officer's considerations of the impacts of the potential of the application on the rural area. It's not a full rural needs impact assessment at this stage, and rightly so in terms of we are not the decision maker.
Okay, thank you, Kim. We have it proposed and seconded, members, as you've seen recommended. All agreed. Thank you. And that brings us, I think, to correspondence. Item 8. 8.1 is to correspondence dated the 30th of April from Department of Health regarding health service dentistry in the district. I think this was sent away last month. John?
Yes, Chair. It's a response from the Department of Health in relation to a query which members had on health service dentistry in the district. The state and the correspondence that a key part of the access facing patients has been the rates being applied to our residents, and the response outlines the range of financial measures for dentists which were announced by the Minister of Health in order to try and overcome these. Chair.
Thank you, John. Councillor McElduff.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I raised this issue originally. It was on foot of constituents contacting me about particular situations and circumstances that affected them. Now, obviously, it says here a key part of the access issues facing patients has been the rates being paid to our dentists for treatment. So there's a link between access and fees, rates being paid to dentists. There's some good news in there relating to the pay review, etc. But one question that I don't think is answered here is the practice of saying to a registered patient whose circumstances have changed that they're now on universal credit or a qualifying benefit, which then categorizes them as an NHS patient. And dentists say to that patient, they say, oh, we can't take you on, but they've been with that practice for many, many years. So they've been with the practice, the person has been with the practice for many years. Are they effectively deregistered, punished, or their circumstances changed and going on to universal credit or another qualifying benefit? It's the most awful news for a patient to receive, that you cannot receive treatment in our practice, of which you have been a member for many, many years. And it's all down to your circumstances changing. We're not taking on any new NHS patients. I would like that specific query addressed by Caroline Lappin, the Chief Dental Officer, if at all possible, in a return correspondence, and I would propose accordingly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So I'll take that proposed to note and a return correspondence with that query. And have we a seconder to that effect, please? Councillor Armstrong. Thank you. 8.2 is correspondence dated the 1st of May from DFI regarding parking permits for town centre residents.
Yes. Chair, yes, again, a query from members in relation to the difficulties being faced by some town centre residents in parking outside or close to their property. And the correspondence states that there is a review of residents' parking scheme in the Rugby Road area in Belfast, and until such times as that is considered, that requests for further schemes are not being considered.
Thank you. Councillor McElduff.
Okay, again, this might hold the key till some people's parking problems in and around where they live. I raised this and I had in mind John Street in Omagh. Residents who live there are finding that they're having great difficulty parking and close to where they live, and they have to park a considerable distance away and carry groceries back, other things back to their place of residence. So I would propose that we write to the Minister for Infrastructure in this instance, asking if the Minister has considered the findings of the report or will consider the findings in the very near future, and when it is anticipated that that report will be published to allow us to make the case for localised schemes. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, members, that's proposed for noting and the correspondence again to the Minister. Have I a seconder? Councillor Thompson. Thank you. And 8.3 then, members, is correspondence dated the 9th of May from Derry City and Strabane Council regarding a motion on waiting times for autism assessments. 8.3.
Yes, Chair.
John, yep, you can bring that.
Yeah, Chair, it's a motion from Derry City and Strabane District Council regarding the unacceptable waiting times for autism assessments. talks about the strategies to address and resolve this backlog and looking for those strategies, including a detailed analysis of their impacts. And it calls on the Minister for Health, the Minister of Education and the Minister for Finance, along with other stakeholders, for a collaborative effort among them in order to come up with an action plan. You will see there, Chair, that the Council, that they're asking that Derry City and Strabane are looking for collaboration from all N9 councils to support the pledge to support the development of the business case and action plan in relation to autism.
Okay, are members happy that we support that motion? Councillor Rennie proposed and Councillor Thompson second. Okay, thank you. 8.4 is from the Ulster University. Is that the correct piece, John?
Yes.
Will you bring us an update on that, please?
Yes, Chair. 8.4, the first part of it, it's an application to Peace Plus project, 1.3 building positive relations, where University of Ulster are asking the council to join as an associate partner in that project to develop a continuous professional development course for council employees to raise awareness on the facts relating to Irish and Ulster Scots, and providing training and expertise for council staff to deal sensitively with language and culture issues. So the ask is if the council would indicate in principle if they would like to participate in the proposed project.
Thank you. Councillor McAuliffe.
Yeah, Chair, I would propose to note the correspondence and adoption of that point, that I think we should indicate in principle that we would like to participate in the proposed project. And just further, I think we should have perhaps an informal meeting with the University of Ulster, or Ulster University as they're now known, regarding the potential of this project. And just to bring it back home, I mentioned it yesterday in a different setting, but the level of interest in, for example, the Irish language locally is very, very strong. On Sunday past, a 50-seater coach undertook a tour of the Sperrins and places of interest to people regarding the Irish language, and it was fully subscribed. I was talking to some of the university academics who led this, and with the Pedro Joe Festival people, and they said it was phenomenal and they could run it again. There's such interest over a wide area. So that's localising it, but I would propose as I just have done. Thank you.
Okay, and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly. That's proposed and seconded and agreed. Thank you. There is another piece of correspondence regarding the Windsor framework.
Yes.
John.
Yes, Chair. The Windsor Framework Democratic Scrutiny Committee are agreed to carry out an inquiry into the Replacement Act on the Windsor framework. They're seeking views on whether to apply in or not apply into that would have a significant impact on everyday life in the communities in Northern Ireland, largely relating to waste issues. You will notice, members, that we received, or the correspondence was dated the 10th of May. They're looking for a response by close of play 11 a.m. on the 20th of May. Quite an extensive piece of legislation to have turned around in that period of time. So, Chair, I would suggest maybe members may wish to write to looking for an extension that we could bring maybe to the Environmental Services Committee next month with the delegated authority powers to respond.
Okay, are members content with it? As it seems to be a waste issue? Yeah. Maybe more suited maybe to ES, but the time frame is very short. Are you happy to propose, Councillor Armstrong, that we seek an extension and put it to ES? Is there a seconder along them lines? Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly. We all agreed. Thank you. And members, there's an item from the National Trust regarding an event on the 21st of June. Have you picked that up? Is there anybody interested in attending? They're showing off new trials and stuff. Is that right, John?
Yeah, Chair, it is the launch from the Loughearn Landscape Project at Crum Castle of their paths, which was funded from LALP. So if if any members are wishing to attend,
We could let Democratic
Democratic
Services know
Services know, yes.
soon enough. Councillor Warrington, or do you just want to leave it like that?
You just want to leave it that we just contact Democratic Services?
Yes, and just to propose to note the correspondence, is that okay, Councillor Warrington? And seconder, please. Just a seconder to note that, please, members. Councillor Kelly, thank you. Oh, and yeah, and John has a piece just to bring to your attention, members, as well.
Yes, Chair, just it's not in your package. Just following a meeting that I had with Hamley and Hamley yesterday in relation to artists. Hamley and Hamley have an artist in resident program in France, and they've been running it for a number of years. And one of the artists is coming to Enniskillen from the 30th of May to the 6th of June. And there are a number of requests which Ciara Hamley has asked of the council. Some of them are relating to chairman duties. There is, and she has asked if we could source Fermanagh linen, which we are actively trying to do. It's actually harder to source Fermanagh linen in Fermanagh. It's very difficult. Because she will be working with students in Mount Lourdes in order to create a piece of artwork in memory of 4 students who have lost their lives whilst they were students in Mount Lourdes recently. And she's holding an exhibition. She's going to issue an invitation to members to attend that exhibition. And I know it's short notice, Chair. She's going to offer the opportunity for the artist who is from Australia to provide a talk and to meet with members of the council. But it is in that period between the 30th of May and the 6th of June. So if members would wish, then I can certainly go back to Ciara and give an indication that members would be willing.
Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, John, for that. Yes, the chair and I both attended Hamley and Hamley, the previous event she had that Ciara held to select the artists for the residential in France. And I have to say, the international interest in what she is doing is more than I've seen ever in County Fermanagh. So I think it's a really exciting cultural event that she is keeping going year after year, obviously in memory of her father, her late father, and then a Enniskillen man. But I would like to propose that we do participate, that we do find the linen. I hope you can, and that if any councillors are available to meet the Australian artist in residence, because I do think the spotlight we can bring on the local arts is very, very important. While the artists are here, there's so much arts and culture in our district we should also be promoting. So I propose that. Thank you, Chair.
Proposed. And a seconder to that, members, please. Councillor McArdle. So you'll work with Democratic Services, maybe, John, to try and get an arrangement for that.
Yeah, just to make sure we can arrange it, but we need to make sure that some members will be in attendance. So it might be useful if members could indicate that they would be keen to meet with the artist and to listen to what she has to say in advance of arranging the meeting. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Is that all the correspondence? Well, members, there's no AOB, and I'm not going to keep you as long. Just to say before we leave tonight, a big thank you to you all. You've had me now for 2 years as chair of RNC. Don't know how that worked out, but there we go. Just as well to thank our team, Kim and Anne and John, and indeed Kieran as well. And there's many others behind the scenes for all your help and support. And just especially, Kim, we know that you have let us know that you're going to retire. So we would like, just on behalf of this committee, to say a big thank you. You've been a steady hand at the wheel, and you'll be missed in FODC. So I don't think it'd be amiss to give Kim a round of applause, members. You don't have to give a speech tonight, but so thank you for your support and the role as chair. I wish the new chair all the best as well. You have a good team up here at the top table, so that makes the job easy. So thank you for that, and we wish you a safe home, Councillor McElduff.
Well, I think obviously we all want to identify with your remarks regarding Kim, and we might get another opportunity to do that.
Yes.
But we won't get another opportunity to thank you, Mark, Councillor Buchanan, for the way you've chaired this committee the past year. Very calm. You could say anything to you and you'll be calm back. And very fair. So thanks to the outgoing chair. Thank you.
Thank you, members. And we appreciate your support. So wish you a safe home.